Russia invents an attack on Putin's residence to justify threats against Ukraine. The war could end in 2026 as Moscow panics over a new wave of mobilization, and Zelenskyy reveals what he would say to Putin in a direct face-to-face confrontation. The latest news next. If speaking with Vladimir Putin, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy would raise the issue of territories and the causes of the war, he says in an interview with Fox News. Responding to a question about what he would discuss with Putin, Zelenskyy emphasizes that he had already raised this issue in a conversation with US President Donald Trump.
I think this is important. That's why I said to President Trump, I think that the question of territory, the question of reasons of this war, why he occupied us.
The president stresses that he has no desire to communicate with Putin as he considers him an enemy, but he allows for such a conversation for security reasons.
And I think it was useful to speak, not because I don't want to speak with him. He's enemy for me. But I think that it's important to speak only for one thing. We have to understand we don't want the sword war.
At the same time, the president emphasizes the complete lack of trust between the parties. He adds, "I don't trust him and I will not. And he also doesn't trust me. It's understandable. But this is the problem." In addition, Zelenskyy says he was convinced that Putin's real goal was the complete occupation of Ukraine.
My feeling that his goal was occupation of all our territory, of all our country. And I really want to hear and to see that he will not come again.
Russia's war against Ukraine could end in 2026, as the size of the Russian army has stopped growing for the first time. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said in an interview with Fox News. According to him, in previous years, Russia mobilized about 43,000 people per month through contract service, but in 2025, the situation changed. For the first time, the number of recruits in the Russian army has equaled the number of losses, causing the overall size of the forces to stop increasing.
This year, first time, the number of mobilized people and the number of losses the same. So this year, 2025, the first time when the number of their army stopped increasing. So we think that the 2026, God bless, we will stop the war. Otherwise, Putin will decide to mobilize people. So now he has contracts because his nation doesn't respect mobilization.
About mobilization in Russia, due to heavy losses in the Pokrovsk sector, the Russian command began forming assault units made up of women. There were also reports of mass recruitment of reservists in Russia, allegedly to guard critical infrastructure facilities. The creation of such units has begun in at least 20 regions of the country. At the same time, the Institute for the Study of War notes that under this pretext, the Kremlin is effectively carrying out forced partial conscription as part of forming a so-called active reserve. Despite official statements about protecting strategic facilities, these reservists are being prepared to take part in combat operations against Ukraine. In addition, Russian authorities are trying to legalize the forced mobilization of residents of temporarily occupied Ukrainian territories. Russian lawmakers have passed a law allowing conscription throughout the entire year, from January 1st to December 31st, formally extending it to occupied Ukrainian regions as well. Accusations by Russia of an attack on the residence of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin may be a prelude to new strikes on Ukraine, warned President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. What Moscow is claiming, how Kyiv is responding, and why the Russian versions don't match in the RBC Ukraine report. What Russia claiming? Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated that on the night of December 29th, Ukraine allegedly carried out a drone attack on the state residence of Russian dictator Vladimir Putin in the Novgorod region.
The Russian negotiating position will be revised in light of the Kyiv regime's full turn toward a policy of state terrorism. The targets and timing of Russia's retaliatory strike after the attack on Putin's state residence have been determined.
At the same time, Lavrov said that Russia does not intend to withdraw from the negotiation process. In addition, Putin's advisor Yuri Ushakov said that the Russian dictator allegedly raised the issue of the attack during a conversation with US President Donald Trump. According to him, Trump purportedly promised afterward to change his approach to communicating with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Trump himself has not commented on these claims so far. However, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed that Trump did indeed speak with Putin today. About Ukrainians' reaction, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy called the Russian side's statements yet another lie and warned that they may be a prelude to new strikes on Ukraine, including Kyiv. According to him, Moscow is looking for a pretext to attack government buildings, seeking to derail Ukrainians' diplomatic efforts and those of its partners. This is a fake story that Russia needs to justify further attacks and to avoid taking real steps toward ending the war, Zelenskyy stressed. The president also emphasized that Ukraine is not taking any actions that could undermine diplomacy, unlike Russia. Ukrainian MFA's position. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said that Russia's claims about an alleged attack on Putin's residence are fabricated. According to him, the purpose of such statements is to create a false pretext for new strikes on Ukraine and to undermine the peace process.
First, Russia has already struck the Ukrainian government building this year. Second, Ukraine targets only legitimate military objectives on Russian territory in response to Russian strikes on Ukraine. Third, Russia is the aggressor, while Ukraine is a country under attack and is defending itself in accordance with Article 51 of the UN Charter.
In particular, in early September this year, Russian forces struck the cabinet of ministers building with an Iskander missile. About discrepancies in Russian official statements. Notably significant inconsistencies have been recorded in the statements made by Russian officials. In particular, Russia's defense ministry reported that on the night of December 29th, 89 drones were shot down over various regions of Russia. At the same time, Lavrov claimed that as many as 91 drones were allegedly heading specifically toward Putin's residence in the Novgorod region. According to Russia's defense ministry, the drones were intercepted over Bryansk, Novgorod, Rostov, and Smolensk regions, Krasnodar Krai, Adygea, as well as over the waters of the Sea of Azov. What Trump says. Later, Trump stated that Putin indeed complained to him about the alleged Ukrainian attack on his residence. The US leader called it not good and mentioned Tomahawk missiles. Interestingly, Trump initially said that he had only heard about the incident and had no details. He said that he had just found out about it but didn't know anything and that it would be very bad. However, shortly afterward, Trump clarified that he had spoken with Putin, who told him about the alleged attack on his residence.
President Putin told me about that. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. It's not good. It's not good. Don't forget, I stopped the Tomahawks. It's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive because they're offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that.
Where Putin's residence is located. The Dolgie Borody residence, also known as Valdai or Uzhin, is located in Russia's Novgorod region, about 20 kilometers from the city of Valdai. It is among Putin's official residences, along with the Kremlin, Novoogareva, Bocharov Ruchey in Sochi, and the Konstantinovsky Palace in Strelna. In the summer of this year, it became known that over the course of a year and a half, the number of air defense systems around Putin's Valdai residence increased from 2 to 12. This likely happened after one of the drones flew over Putin's residence during an attack on an oil depot in St. Petersburg in late 2024. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.